Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Tori Patchett. I am the group leader for this project, and let's view a demo of our site today. So I'm going to flip over to the Site tab, and as you can see, this is our home page. We chose for our problem again the 12 to 15 puzzle, and so this will be the login screen you see when you reach our page. We can go ahead and log in with any username you'd like to use for this site. I'm going to use my standard username, and then we submit. And so once we get here, we're taken kind of to a intro home page. We have choices that we can make, so we can either go to an About Us page, we can log out, or we can go to the main home screen page of the game. And so I'm going to go ahead and click my username to go to the main home screen page of the game. And here we have the 15 puzzle. This is just a display of how the game is supposed to look at the end of the game. You can see the leaderboard on the right with how many moves it takes us to complete the game. We have a moves tracker on the side. And so in order to begin the game, we're going to go ahead and hit the start button. And so once we hit the start button, you can kind of see this is still what the game is supposed to look like. The actual game is kind of hidden underneath. But so we get to our mystery board. And we can click our button and begin, and then we get displayed with our game again. And so I'm going to continue to move the pieces until we get the corrected board. So you can see it slides to the empty slot. Once again, slides to the empty slot, slides upwards towards the empty slot, slides to the left, and once again we slide to the left. And then in order for me to keep this going, I want to move down, move over, move over, move up, or move over, and move over. And then we've reached the end game board. This is what our board is supposed to look like at the end of it. As you can see, it shows me in the leaderboard here where I am, and this should be updated once I log out as well. And as well, we have our completed game. And so once the game is complete, you can go back and log out. And this is the way the site looks at the moment. So let me flip back to our presentation. With this project came a bunch of testing. We implemented testing in the following manners, and as you can kind of see, some of these bugs still were caught in testing, and we unfortunately did not have time to get all of them out. But we had to play through the game several times in order to catch a lot of the bugs during the board testing within the final gameplay system. That's where you can kind of see the final screen is showing on the last page. It is there as an example, but also it's not supposed to display permanently. That is a bug we found during testing. As well, we're able to determine, we kind of saw it in the demo, the counter does not always update. It updates 90% of the time, but it is a bug that we noticed as well during board testing, that the moves sometimes does not display correctly on the screen. As well, we did a bunch of testing with the login page to test back and forth between multiple runs that data was correctly being sent to the home page in the game. We had to verify this and also verify that the user's username was being sent in order for us to be able to display the name, to update the leaderboard. Without the user's username being sent correctly, we were not able to complete any of these items in any form or fashion. And so for this development, we use the Scrum methodology of planning as a team. We chose to do our design in 2 sprints, where we split the project with the design and implementation of the login and supporting features and the design and implementation of the main gameplay. These 2 sprints each lasted for a 2-day period, and they were broken into daily individual sprints, where team members designed a specific part of the implementation of the site. And so kind of as an example, in our final daily sprint, which has taken place over the last day, I was responsible for implementing the main board design, so I was responsible for updating the CSS on the main board in our gameplay, as well as getting the final finished motion of the pieces moving along the board. Matthew was responsible for implementing the board's movements as well, making sure that they moved correctly in the correct order, that we had a randomized design for the board each time we hit the start button. And then all the while was also responsible for testing the implementation of bugs. This is how we found out about the final board displaying randomly sometimes when the site is loaded and other times not when the site is loaded. But as I said, that actually stands to be a good point to showcase to users what the game is supposed to look like at the end. So how did the Scrum methodology actually help our team with development? The framework benefited our team during this project by promoting morning meetings to kind of ask each other which elements had been completed the following day and which elements had remained to be worked on. This allowed us to redistribute our work between each member after the end of each day to help us reach our sprint goals. So an example of this is I actually ended up taking on the leaderboard to work with the leaderboard at the end of one daily sprint in order to make sure that it displayed correctly on the page. So I implemented the display leaderboard function to showcase all of the leaders on the side of our screen. As well, the Scrum framework allowed us to be more focused in communication with our daily task. So instead of, knowing, not knowing who's working on the main board or who's working on the moving part of the main board and who's working on the design of the main board, we could communicate questions with each other knowing that, oh, Matthew is working on the implementation of the movements. So when I design the CSS for this, I need to ask, how big are the tiles that you have moving so that I understand how these things are moving across the screen. As well, the Scrum framework gave us an opportunity between our sprints to evaluate work we worked on, what we didn't, and adjust before the next sprint. So as we hit the end of our first sprint, which was designing all the supporting features before we got to the main board, to make sure everything was in place so that once we started the gameplay, we could entirely focus on the gameplay. When we reached that point, we realized some elements of the login page had not been fully finished that needed to be implemented for the main page, and so we could then redirect in the sprint and say, okay, this is an important element for gameplay. We need to add this in our chart because it did not get finished at the end of our first sprint, and redirect each other and adjust to make sure that all elements were completed before the final. So we thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed our 15 puzzle gameplay website, and we hope to present more future progress with this site to you. Thank you.